look out. Here come former SportsCenter anchor Bob Stevens, esteemed basketball coach Rich Basirico, and Hall of Fame, and someone's going under the bus.
Esteemed. I like that. That's rich.
I don't know about that now.
You talk to the writers about that?
Who's
and I'm just steamed.
You are steamed. First of all, everybody to Under the Bus this week. Let's start with the NFL, and coach after a 2-3 start on it, does it?
I think so. It's all over it. I mean, all over it.
Yeah, but I believe if you go back and look at our session last week, I believe I had this on there about Sal. If you get on the bad side, I don't know if he's on the bad side of Woody Johnson, the owner. Started in training camp with the quote unexcused absence. Apparently, questioning Rodgers' cadence. That might have been the final blow.
He's been doing that for years, right? He's been doing that for years and years. But then losing to Denver 10-9, only scoring 9 points. Their defense is, and Rodgers has taken some ownership of that too now. It's not just the coach. I mean, Rodgers has to.
Well, if you've watched this thing, that the movement, apparently Rodgers doesn't want any movement before the ball, right? And the Jets do none of that. And it's the corner Hackett. He got a couple of his old receivers, but they're not any good. I mean, they're not any good anymore.
It's interesting that it's solid that gets thrown under the bus.
That's what always happens.
I
Woody Johnson says. Woody Johnson says. Is that? If Rodgers wanted Salah to be absolute, he did.
You look at their record, with him there, they're 20-36.
Oh, of course.
He's been there.
Yeah. Well, maybe they shouldn't have gone to London to get trashed right after the game, and London brought him back on the plane. If they're going to fire him, why don't they just fire him in London and leave him there? Yeah,
let them stay and have a vacation.
But let the coach enjoy a few days in London.
Hacked, and of course he's now reappeared as a coach in New Orleans. And the other guy was Joe Philbin in 2015. They named the interim coach became a guy named Dan Campbell. Do we know who that is?
Yes, we do. How about that? That's bringing in a little
London. Woody Johnson, who's donated millions and millions of dollars to Republicans over the years, he was Trump's ambassador to England. So I'm sure, maybe he's just waiting around for November to get the bid again, and he can get out of this mess and go back to London.
Was it England or Ireland?
I think it was. It might have been the British Isles.
There you go. Interesting. So do they get Devontae Adams now, or do they not?
if you
That's a good
I
question.
guess
if
we
you
ought
were
to ask Aaron
Devontae
Rodgers.
Adams, would
Probably
you want to go to this mess? I don't know.
he wants to go there or the
Either
Saints.
there or New
And
Orleans.
now the Saints, their quarterback's hurt, so he might not want to go there either. Why is he calling all the punches here? Why is he telling me here? He goes in and tells the coach, "I don't want to."
Yeah, well,
It's not happening. I mean, right now
let me,
they
you
haven't
know,
found him a place. So
Yeah, he's 30. He's
well, let me
32
ask you
years
this.
old. He's no some spring chicken now. How many years does he have left to play in the NFL? And the amount of money,
He's
what-
not going to
his
make
salary
any
is pretty
difference to
darn
the
large.
Jets. You know, do you really think so?
No, I don't.
Devontae
I
Adams
don't.
to the
I
Jets?
think
No,
the
no.
Jets, Curry, I think, and Bob, I think they really do have good skill people. It's shocking they can't score more, put more points on the board. Really.
Well, let me ask you this. I got up last Sunday and Aaron Rodgers had already the game throwing that interception on the goal line.
Right.
If he throws a touchdown pass there, we're not talking about Sally getting five. They're 3-2.
If they win that,
Yeah. So
that was
I
getting
mean,
an
but he
extension.
threw a
Yeah.
terrible pass.
he did.
You know how the cliche is always, oh, the quarterback. Well, Rodgers threw that pass exactly where the defensive back could catch it and nobody else. It was,
Nobody else.
is it sacrilege to think at 40 he might be washed, man? I mean, no mobility anymore, Rich.
Well,
You know,
he's 40 years old, but the
well,
interesting thing is when he threw the interception, he put his hands up like this, like that should have been an interference call. It wasn't.
Oh yeah, and that,
Yeah.
of course, that he knew that ended the game, and he's going, what? I'm Aaron Rodgers. That was
Exactly.
When he probably came out of the huddle before the play saying, "Hey, I'm Aaron Rodgers. If I throw a pick right here, I can get rid of the coach I don't like." Here, probably.
That's
Crazy.
I got another.
Yes.
I got another coach that I might throw under the bus and get him fired. My Buffalo Bills. I mean, at the end of that game, they get the ball with pass plays that take up 16 seconds. Then they punt, allow Houston to come down and win the game on.
Somebody asked him, why didn't you throw it? Because, well, they would have used the timeouts. They would have got the ball back anyway. That's what you want them to do. Use their timeouts so they don't have any timeouts. So when you punt the ball, they coming down the field, they have no timeouts left. I mean, for NFL coach, off the charts. I mean, it's off the charts.
Sean McDermott.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott. Then he took the blame.
Of course, he did.
Yeah. Well, the offensive coordinator is genius. Maybe McDermott took him off the hook. But if you're a coach and you don't like the offensive call, you got to call your guy and say, "Hey, we're not running that play."
That's right. That staff. So he does have to take ownership. If he didn't like those calls, then he needs to call up. That's what they wear headphones for a reason. What's the headphones for if they're never going to speak into them?
Next coach that might get thrown under the bus, though, could be the guy who was the coach of the year last year, Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. He's stuck with a really bad team now that had higher expectations, and he can't. Right now, he's saying he doesn't want to, but come on, he's got to want to throw his quarterback under the bus. Yeah, I mean, Deshaun Watson. That's just brutal.
They just settled another lawsuit with him. Did you see that?
Yeah.
They settled because they didn't want the girl to come forward. They settled out of court. How many times is this guy going to do this?
Yeah.
How focused can you be as a quarterback when all this stuff is going on around you?
That's another ownership. That's another ownership deal. They make that deal with Watson. They never should have made it. And Jimmy, Haslam that owns the Browns. What a
Truck
joke.
stops, yeah.
And poor Stefanski has to play the guy because of the contract. And he's got somebody who's sitting on the bench, the guy from Florida
Jameis
State.
Winston.
Jameis Winston.
Give him a
I
shot.
mean, a legitimate pro quarterback. Yeah.
Give him a
better than this
shot,
guy.
right?
Yeah, he's better.
I
than
Meanwhile-
think you can't do any worse than Watson's doing right now. Why not give him
Yeah.
a shot?
Well,
Yeah.
and meanwhile, where are the last three Browns quarterbacks? Well, they got one Baker Mayfield in Tampa who's doing just fine. Joe Flacco is in
Incredible.
Indianapolis doing great, and as a backup. And Jacoby Brissett, until just today, was the quarterback of the Patriots. They finally are going with the Carolina guy. They're going to get Drake May killed before the end of the year. And
Drake. What's he got up there?
that's a good one. Deshaun Watson settled more lawsuits than he's thrown touchdown passes. It's being traded to the Browns. Wow.
That's good.
Hey, seldom do we name a other than a skill player an under the bus guy, but I got a guy this week.
You got it.
The rookie free agent holder for the Cincinnati Bengals,
Uh-huh.
Ryan Ricow. I mean, that game was wild, back and forth.
Oh,
And
he
finally,
dropped that.
the Bengals have a 52-yarder to win the game. You know, McPherson's one of the best kickers in the league. He had not missed in the fourth quarter. And this rookie, did you see this? A rookie holder comes in, fumbles the ball, or he catches the ball, then he puts it down and fumbles it. It rolls around, and the guy misses left. And then the Ravens go on to win in overtime.
Do you think he still has a job? Do you think he
I
still
don't
has
know.
a job?
His name's Ricow. Name better be Recount. He could recount his paycheck if it's ever going to come this week.
Is he the punter? Because usually it's the punter these days that's
I
also
think
the
he
holder.
is the punter. I think he is the punter. Yeah.
So that may save his job if he's a good
Right.
punter. But
Yeah, that's
wow,
true.
yeah, that's they now have. Remember back in the day, this is one of those, and we do this probably way too much, but when we go back in the day when the backup quarterback was the holder,
Yeah,
you know, so that you could run a fake, so you
That's
could
right.
do something.
that's
And
right.
But you
Why didn't
seldom
anybody
seldom see a poor holder. You know, it's funny that doesn't happen more, but you seldom see it. I mean, they're really
Right.
good at this.
What else have they got to do? Yeah, I mean, they
Yeah.
they
Well,
ought
now
to be pretty good at it. But
And now you guys, the Bengals are 1-4. I mean, they're 1-4, and you know, Burrow, who had a terrific game, you can't blame this record on him.
No.
He says after he goes to the podium after the game, he says, "We're not a championship team." Duh. I mean, what, Joe? Give me something I don't know. You know,
who is a championship team 5 weeks in?
I don't know. I tell you
Kansas
what,
City?
I don't think
Minnesota.
I don't think Kansas will repeat. Minnesota's playing way above their heads. I think it'll come down to earth sooner or later.
How
well,
about
you
your
know, the-
Commanders?
That's really crazy. The Washington.
That's the surprise team of the year.
That
I think
is
so far.
really, really crazy. But Daniels, that rookie quarterback's terrific.
There's a rookie quarterback, and Rich always hates these rookie quarterbacks, but you know, the guy with the Bears had a great game.
Yeah.
Also, Caleb Williams and Bo Nix is coming around. I mean, there's 3 rookie quarterbacks, Rich, that are, you know,
Well-
confounding you who hate rookies.
Well, Bo Nix, even though Bo Nix had a good game, he still stinks.
No.
Watch him for a game. Watch
I
Bo Nix
disagree.
for a game and tell me he's
I
an
disagree,
NFL
but I
quarterback.
want to. Did you see the tiff on the sidelines between Sean Payton and Bo Nix?
And did you hear Nix's explanation afterwards?
What did he
No.
say?
The two of them got in a shouting, and they after the game they asked Nix, what did Coach say to you? And he said he loves me.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
a
Sean
good-
Payton said that was just my love language. He said about Bo Nix, though, he sounds like Rich. He said there's too much Ferris Bueller in this guy. He called his quarterback Ferris Bueller.
Ferris was a pretty good quarterback, though, I think, wasn't he?
I guess so. I don't know. How about the season is weird when the Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers, two of the great names in in the game play one of the most boring, ridiculous games the other night. I mean, it was unwatchable. They were both terrible. They can't move the ball. Dak makes all these errors. He fumbles the ball right at the end, and luckily he falls on it and then throws the winning touchdown. I mean, it was a joke game.
Yeah, that was not entertaining at all. Not at all. And I think Pittsburgh's going to make a change at quarterback sooner than later.
Oh,
Yeah, but then you go to Russell Wilson?
Well, if they lose this weekend, I think they will go to Russell Wilson. I really do.
You think they still have Roethlisberger's phone number?
He might come back.
Hamlin, who's the Pittsburgh coach, is a great quote all the time. He had the great halftime interview, the best halftime interview ever. He said, if we can stop kicking our own butts, maybe we can start focusing on theirs. And he started focusing on them until the last play. And then they wanted at the buzzer. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, good stuff. Anything else from the NFL? Okay, we'll go to baseball next.
All right, perfect.
That's coming up after this break. Hudson's on the Docks is our sponsor. Hilton Head Island legend. Great, fabulous place to eat, even in the off season, even not in summertime. Go to hudsonsondocks.com and check out their menu. We'll be back with more throwing people under the bus right after this. Welcome back to Under the Bus. Bob Stevens along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico. I was going to go baseball next, but you know what? We ought to do college football. We're on the football vibe, and we got a lot of people to throw under the bus in college football after a wacky Saturday that saw number one get beat by Vanderbilt. What's with that?
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. How does that happen? Sure. Seriously, how does that? That's the beauty of athletics, right? You tell your kids all the time, upsets happen every day, happens all the time. But Vandy got beaten Alabama. Never would have thought in a million years that would have happened.
Vanderbilt 0-60 against the top five and hadn't beaten Alabama in 40 years. I mean, we know Vanderbilt's the punchline and the nation's doormat and SEC joke. But they went up again, and Vanderbilt has this kid named Diego Pavia was the quarterback. Diego Pavia, that sounds very familiar. Didn't he play the orphan boy in Once Upon a Time in Tijuana, something like that? He actually
played at New Mexico State last year. So it wasn't like coming from this big time program. He played at a school that was terrible last year.
He beat Auburn last year.
They ran out Auburn last year, and so Clark Lee, the Vanderbilt coach, noticed that, and he got Diego to come to Vanderbilt with his coach and his receiver.
Coordinator.
Everybody came to Vanderbilt from New Mexico State.
Well, it's paid off. It's definitely paid off, has it not?
Well, did you watch? I mean, this game was no fluke anyway. I mean, they outplayed Alabama the whole game. They held the ball for 42 minutes. Vanderbilt had the ball.
And that was, I was going to say, it's real easy. It would have been real easy for Alabama fans to want to throw their team, their coach, everybody under the bus. But every Alabama person that I have talked to since that game stood up and said, you know what? They beat us. They outcoached us. They outplayed us. They just beat us. They didn't blame themselves. They didn't, look for somebody to kill. Yeah, good for them. And Bama just.
But Vandy had to lead the whole game, right? I mean, Alabama never had to lead.
They were in control the whole game. And this kid Pavia, now Steve Saban fits at Alabama, and running around the way he did, and that's the way this guy plays. He guffed because of the remarks he said in the past couple of weeks. he said a couple weeks ago that in the morning on college game day, the morning of the game, he said, playing at Vanderbilt was never a road I-65, and they did it again. So, they outnumbered the Vandy fans at that game. You love one of my favorite things. They're going to storm the field. We know that at the end of the game. And I was watching the SEC girl, Lisa Lang, who I think is one to do, and she went storming. After Pavia went running around. He's got his whole family. The crowd is coming in there, and I've been a sideline reporter. I've been in those things, and it is scary. When a crowd, it's awful because you got to get your camera person, your producer, and she ran after Pavia faster than the Alabama defenders did. And she's a graduate of South Carolina.
Oh,
She's
wow.
from North Carolina. Yeah. And a few years ago, I remember this. She was at Mississippi State, and she was asking about Mike Leach about her wedding, and he suggested that she elope. Right on camera. And he started babbling, and he started talking about God gave me a vision of this when I was little, and then he started throwing F-bombs. I mean, F-bomb upon F-bomb upon F-bomb. It was just
the microphone.
He's natural. And of course, they escorted the goalposts.
The river, right? Did he throw it in the river?
It was great. It was great.
The river. And are slicing it up and
for a piece of the goalpost, $4,000.
Yeah. Now, here's where they did it right. As you see here, they actually Broadway or whatever the main street.
Very nice. Music City, right down Music City.
And to take it
through all the clubs and everything going on. I'm surprised Rich hasn't. This is Rich's favorite subject, but the Alabama was 23 and a half. Or they're number one and they're 23 and a half. I read where in Nick Saban's first year at Alabama, he was favored by 25 and a half over Louisiana Monroe and lost the game.
Right. Wow.
First season. So, that year. And Saban, after that game, he's admitted that he liked it, and he later had to apologize.
Back off of that a little bit.
How do you compare that to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor?
Let me tell you about my story. My story with Vanderbilt football. In the early 2000s, I was working for ESPN doing pieces for College Game Day, and no swearing policy that the players couldn't swear on the field or off field or anywhere. This is a joke. So we thought we got to do a piece on this. So we called up and said we were coming down to Mace, and we talked to a lot of the players, and they said they had made up words for cuss words because they didn't want to, get penalized because the coach is going to make them run and make them do push-ups and all this stuff. And the first thing to the coach, and I sat down, I said, I said it right on camera, and my producer and the cameraman did not know I was going to. It was great.
What did he say?
Well, he said he just thought he would institute in fun of him and making all these words up. But so at the end of the piece, and we got
get
him.
ready.
We got
Get it to the stand up at the end of the piece.
I mean, I don't think it should be that big of a deal.
Maybe it's not such a big deal after
There we
all.
go.
Bobby Johnson and Vanderbilt should definitely be commended for
some really great recognition for it. But the only time I think I told you guys this a long time ago, the only time I started to get recognized is when I was on TV doing the ESPN game day stuff. About weeks and months after that, people would come up to me in airports and say, I loved your Vanderbilt piece on no swearing. So that's the thing I'm most famous for my whole life is doing that
The
stuff.
Van piece. Wow.
That Vanderbilt in the end gets fined $100,000 for the players storming the field.
Yeah, come on.
Somebody else got fined like $250,000 for doing it last week. Might
it
have been
Arkansas?
University of Washington after they beat Michigan. And come on,
I thought
mean,
it was
Well, how are
the
they going
I
to stop
thought the
those kids?
SEC.
How are they going to stop them from coming on
might
the
have been the
field?
SEC. Yeah,
What are you going to do?
I think it might have been Arkansas, Tennessee, also, right?
that was it. That was
yeah,
it.
yeah, because SEC
And
is the only SEC is the only league that does it. Stupid, you know.
I mean, that's just nuts. I mean, they
Yeah.
say it mean well when you get a big upset, you gotta let the kids come on.
Right.
Come
Right.
on.
Is you going to listen to that? Come on.
I like that. That's good.
All right. Perfect. Perfect.
Well, and speaking of Big Ten and Michigan, Washington, I thought you know, I read there's been 9 games now between Big Ten or the visitors are 1-8.
One
There's only
eight.
been one win. And Michigan was an example. I thought Michigan total collapse. Total. I call him, he's like their 4th or 5th quarterback, right? I call him a kid. He's in his 7th. Now, the guy has played in 5 bowl games. This guy. and he totally collapsed in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
So Michigan, I don't know. Not to mention Lincoln Riley. Okay, Southern Cal plays at Minnesota and gets beat. That they're one of the. I think there were 5 teams in the top 11, right? That got beat.
Right.
You know, but Riley's lines are getting destroyed by these bigger Big Ten teams, and so I don't know if he's ready for. The guy at Minnesota, PJ Fleck, the coach of Minnesota, had a great line after he said, "We're the best 2-3 team in the country." One of those
Better
losses,
than the Jets, who fired their
his
coach 2-3.
Yeah, I'm the best 2-3 team in the country. His first loss, by the way, was to
Right?
Yes, sir.
How about that?
Let's not get into that. Right?
You're the
Hey,
one who brought it up.
here's 2 teams, not to throw under the bus that we get. Listen to this stat. Navy is 19th for 19 in being in the red. Has not been behind in any games this year. Not one time. So, they can meet in their conference championship the week before the actual Army-Navy game is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And Army-Navy game will end in a 10-10.
No, in the 30s and 40s, if they had a little trouble this last weekend, Temple.
Oh, Temple, Connecticut game fell totally under the radar. Talk about under the bus. There were 7 lead changes in this game. If Justin can bring up the end of this game, Temple's got the ball on the goal line, last play of the game to win the game. They're going to do the tush push. Here's the tush push. Whoops.
Oh no, they fumbled it.
Whoopee.
And UConn runs all the way for the touchdown.
Ball
How
goes
about
the other
that?
way. Yeah. So, Temple, which is from Philadelphia, is trying to tush push or the brotherly shove or whatever it is. And they're not exactly the Eagles. So
How about
I
that?
got
Apparently
one other
not.
thing though. I got one other thing, and Rich mentioned it off camera. The somebody wants desperately the University of Miami to get in the playoffs because there's that game a few weeks ago when Virginia Tech wins the game, they call a touchdown, then call it back and give the game to Miami. The other night they're playing Cal, and I understand. I realize it's 2:30 a.m. by the end of this game, and the fools were watching it, including me.
Oh.
Cal has the game in hand. They're up 25 in the third quarter, and then they had to fend off a Cam Ward led the Hurricanes back, and there came Miami's driving again to. I'm sorry, Cal's driving to save the game, and the quarterback goes on a keeper, and one of the Miami's latest assassin, this guy named Wesley Basante, he jumps and he hurls his body and he hurls his helmet at Mendoza's helmet, the Cal quarterback. It's a total helmet to helmet. It's a definition of helmet to helmet. Both announcers, Reese Davis is calling the game for ESPN. He's totally hoarse. It's like 2:30 in the morning Eastern Standard, and it was an awful. And there's no call whatsoever. No call. Then they reviewed it and they upheld the no call. I mean, it went from, Cal would have had the ball in Miami territory with about a minute and a half to go, and they're up. They're ahead. Instead, they punt to Miami, and Cal. The terrific Miami quarterback. Yeah, he throws a 70-yard bomb, and Miami ends up winning the game. But it totally turned the game.
But how do you not call that when you watch that over and over again, just like we just did? How do you not throw the flag on that?
Yeah. Terrible.
Well,
terrible.
I know how you don't. It's Pac-10 refs, except it wasn't a Pac-10 team. It was an ACC game.
Well, I think they were ACC refs. They're ACC refs.
Well, I'm sure they were. The two teams are from the ACC.
Just like
conference game.
Yeah, as Rich pointed out, the game was in Miami 2 weeks ago when they gave the game to Miami. I mean, Miami, they're desperately trying to get Miami to playoffs, and Miami only has, I think they have a road game at Louisville next week, a road game at Syracuse towards the end of the year. They could be unbeaten. I mean, if they win those two, they're going to go unbeaten.
That's true. But why do you have these replays anymore? I mean, you think they're going to get it right all the time. They don't. They really don't. And I would love to go back to the old day, the old school day. Just Fisher makes a call. Let's move on. They stop these games for 6 minutes long. You go out and take a nap and go get some popcorn by the time to make a decision. It's way too long. It takes away from the game. Really does.
I would disagree with you, Rich. I like trying to get it right. Now they didn't
trying to get it right, but they're not. Yeah. That's the sad part.
Well,
it shouldn't take 10 minutes to get it right.
That
shouldn't take it.
Especially a call like that.
As I said, Reese Davis was on the game for ESPN, and his color guy was Brock Osweiler. I don't know if you remember that name. He was
sure.
He's Peyton Manning's caddy at Denver. But Reese Davis tried to get the referees and the officials off the hook. He said, well, maybe it wasn't clear enough to, overturn it because, on the field it was no call. He said maybe it wasn't clear enough. Osweiler said, if we have to get a magnifying glass to tell how these rules are interpreted, this is ridiculous. I mean, I've never heard two announcers. They really went at it on this play.
Did they really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. It was hysterical. Yeah. Because Osweiler was infuriated, and they should have been. I mean, it was. I'm surprised the Cal coach didn't make that much of it.
Yeah.
What a bet.
Well, I think there should be a limit. Bob, I hear what you're saying, but shouldn't there be a limit of how long you have to look at the replay? I mean, something 6.5, 7 minutes sometimes it takes. And the people that we the audience watch it and we can figure it out in 3 minutes, because the replay. Why does it take
that part of it is true, except the reason, college football games are way too long now anyway, because there's way too many commercials. You get all the commercials taken care of in that 6 or 7 minutes.
Oh, there you go.
While you're looking at the replay, and we can make everybody happy. We need to talk a little baseball. Let's take a break. Hudson's Under the Bus sponsors or Hudson's on the Docks sponsors Under the Bus. They should throw me under the dock here. Anyway, hudsonsonthedocks.com. Stay with us. More Under the Bus coming up. All right, welcome back. Under the Bus, Bob Stevens along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico. We'll talk a little baseball. The playoffs are going on as we are doing the show, so it's kind of hard to speculate on winners and losers and whatever. But let's talk about some of the things we've seen.
Well,
We
speaking
saw
of replay,
How about the Mets won, Bob? Mets won tonight. So you got 2-1 lead in Philly.
they're up 2-1. But speaking of replays, Rich, your Yankees, Jazz Chisholm is still out at second base. He's still out. And let's talk about replays. They took about 10 minutes on that one, right? And they called him safe. Everybody in America knew the guy was out. So the Yankees should be down 2-love. I mean, come on, right?
Well, sure. Here's my prediction. They're down and out. They're not going to win this series.
What's wrong with Judge? Why can't Judge hit in the postseason?
I have no idea.
I mean, you see this guy up there, and
they're just so inconsistent. They're so inconsistent with hitting. Kansas City will go to the World Series.
I agree.
Sorry, Bob. Sorry, Bob. With
Cleveland. They might. I mean, Cleveland's ace gave up. He'd given up 5 runs all year, and given up 2 home runs all year, and gives up a 3-run homer and gets beaten in the 9th inning at home.
Right. That was yesterday, right? Your boy Class A.
Yeah.
Class A.
Yeah, Class A. Yeah.
He all of a sudden became D Class A.
Well, or they're going to send him to Class A if he keeps doing this.
The guy that hit the home run, wasn't he? Didn't he come in as a pinch hitter or the inning before or something?
Yeah,
right.
Carpenter, Kerry Carpenter. He had pinch hit the time before, but in Class A's, in anyone's defense of what happened, Carpenter, the only 3 or 4 guys in baseball who hit left-handers better than he does are Judge and Bobby Witt Jr. and Ohtani. I mean, wow. He's up there with some heavyweight guys. And AJ Hinch has been playing all the right cards, and he decided to play that card, save it for late. They tried to bait him into doing it earlier by bringing in right-handed relief pitchers, saying, bring that lefty in there to pinch hit. And he saved him until the 7th inning, and then he stayed in the game and hit the home run in the 9th. Good stuff there. So I think the Padres are going to win the whole thing.
So Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Witt Jr.'s 0 for 10 in 2 games. Just think, Rich, if he ever starts hitting, you guys are finished, right? I mean, that's what you're talking about. Unless
I'm telling you, we're finished. We'll lose tomorrow. I guarantee we lose tomorrow.
Unless Jazz Chisholm keeps stealing bases and they give him the base when he's thrown out by 10 feet. Come on. That was awful.
Well, because he hurts him. He hits a home run last night. Everybody's excited. How about his defense? He hurts them defensively. But how about the Yankees? They put him at third base. He never played third base in his life. And they put him there. So he's played maybe, 30 games at third base? But yesterday they put a guy at first base who's never played. First base ever. And you're going to put him in during the playoffs? That's what you're going to play him there?
Don't they have enough?
It's happened.
Let me. Here's another pet peeve of Rich's. I know is relief pitchers. How about Game 1 of the Phillies Mets when Wheeler is retiring everybody. One hit, and they take him out, and immediately the Mets dugout goes crazy because they don't have Wheeler to face anymore, and they start. They just pound. They pound the relievers. They got 5 runs off Hoffman and Strome, the quote all-star relievers for Philadelphia. What a joke. They just killed them. And, they end up, So, and
if
then
you pitch well, don't take him. If you pitch well, leave him in there. Leave him in there. You don't know that your relief pitchers, even though as good as they had during the season, you don't know if they're going to be on or not. You know for a fact this guy's got his stuff. Stay with him.
I mean, Bob, don't you agree? Here's Wheeler. Let him pitch the 8. Let him finish the game, for God's sakes. They have nothing. They have 1 hit off him. He'd retired the last 21 guys or something, and they pull him out.
In defense of the managers involved, because of the schedule being so goofy, they've got these bullpens. They've been playing, these guys have been pitching every other day all year long. The Guardians, for example, were able to run out their top 4 guys in the bullpen in Game 1 when they won, and in Game 2, which they lost. But And now they'll be able to use them again in game 3 because they had another off day.
That's
I mean,
right.
they play off. I mean, that's nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not the way the regular season goes.
No,
Well, you know,
that's-
the Phillies relief failures. Now you go to the other team. Game 2, the Mets come out with their famous celebrity closer, Edmund Diaz. Give me I mean, the guy is fidgety. He's got the weird windup, all these angles and speed and stuff. I think his arm is dead. He looks like his arm's dead.
well,
I mean, you know,
he blows up
he
too.
walks,
He does blow up, kind of like the Yankees blow up. He does blow games for them. For
well,
sure.
he comes in, he walks, you know, they got the lead. He walks Turner. He's totally afraid of Harper. He walks him, and then Storer comes up and triples, and you know the Phillies go ahead. But you know, and the Mets came back. It was a great game, unbelievable game. But
Yeah.
Edmund Diaz is my savior. I don't know. I think his arm's dead. He's pitched so much during the season, and he comes in, and you know, I mean, you know, the Phillies bullpen is awful, but I think the Mets might be worse. I mean, now today was no game, right? The Mets won easily, and
Yeah.
they're about to upset the Phillies too. We have all these upsets going on all
Right.
over the place, right?
That's right. Yep. All
I
over.
mean,
The
yeah,
Mets come back. Think how many times the Mets have come back. Well, they
Yeah.
were what, 2 outs for elimination, right? Last week against Milwaukee, 2 outs for elimination. Boom, they come back and win the game. The cardiac kids, as we call
yeah.
Great stuff.
Well, and you guys both like the Padres in the other classic matchup between teams that don't exactly like each other. You talk about the Dodgers and the Padres. You know, you saw that thing the other night, and fans are throwing stuff on the, you know, in the outfield, throwing trash, throwing
Well,
balls.
and then the Dodger manager accuses
Manny Machado throwing a ball.
Manny Machado of throwing at him from left field.
Well, Manny says he does that all the time. He was just flipping the ball into the dugout, you know. But I thought, I don't know if Justin got this, but it all, you know, I don't know if we should throw this guy under the bus or not. But Jamison Profar in the first inning goes up and robs Mookie Betts of the home run in the left field stands, and he comes out and he pretends he didn't catch it. He's like Deacon. Mookie is running around the bases. The umpire in the infield signaling home run. Mookie's running around the bases, and Profar's got the ball. And he doesn't even, he's like, pretends he didn't catch it. Then he turns around and he starts dancing. He starts dancing and showing the ball to the left field stands. I mean, you talk about trolling. I mean, and taunting. I mean, the NFL, if that was in the NFL, he'd get an unsportsmanlike.
He'd be fine. He'd be fine.
Yeah.
That is the perfect way to end our show. A show that began with Curry doing push-ups at Vanderbilt and ends with Jurickson Profar hanging onto the ball and not showing it to anybody. We want to thank Hudson's on the Docks for sponsoring us. We want to thank Justin Jarrett for his great job of producing and coming up with the highlights tonight. For Rich Basirico and Curry Kirkpatrick, I'm Bob Stevens. Oh, join us next week. There are going to be plenty more folks to throw under the bus.
See you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Under the Bus is a production of the Loco Media Network and is filmed on the Hilton Head Island campus of the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. The executive producer is Justin Jarrett, with assistance from Trey Ramsey, Mahogany Hickman, and Adam Carroll.